Yeah, correct. So I think you might get a little bit of a bounce here early September. We're around this 3-day holiday weekend. Markets are starting to think maybe the Fed is coming to an end of their hiking cycle. I think by late September, October, that might be the case. But then I think we're going to start to see weaker economic data that's going to freak the markets out about maybe the Fed already pushed us into a recession and it could be a bad one. And then the biggest question, which could really be detrimental to the stock market, is how does the Fed get us out of the next recession? Every past recession, they've printed us out. If inflation is still even at 4 to 5%, and we know it's way higher right now, how do they print money with 4 to 5? I mean, what are they going to send it to 15, 20% inflation by doing that? They're not going to do that. And so you could be in this prolonged recession that just really stinks, frankly. So it's going to be a trader's market. Great to get educated, learn how to read charts. It's super helpful in guiding to like entries and exits.
While the cryptocurrency market anticipates the Ethereum merge, Bitcoin appears to be struggling to find momentum. There are high chances of a blanket impact on all cryptocurrencies from the shift to proof of stake. However, even if there is a ripple effect with positive strides from the event, Bitcoin could only fluctuate for a short duration. Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, Gareth Soloway, who is the chief market strategist at InTheMoneyStocks.com, covers the most recent moves in the market. He also explains why Bitcoin and stocks will crash lower, whereas gold will go higher. Gareth also talks about his crypto allocation in 2022 and when he believes is the best time to buy Bitcoin in a bear market. Make sure to stick around till the end of this video where Gareth Soloway reveals how Fed is planning to hide the recession amid the ongoing midterm elections.
So let's take a look at some charts here. I want to bring up some charts, show you guys what I got going on here. This is the Bitcoin chart. You can see we're beautifully bouncing off of the 2017 highs. This is the high going back to 2017. We bounced here, and now we're retesting. Bitcoin may see upside to about 23.5, then I think down to 13 to 12. But it's certainly, again, there's no denying that Bitcoin still, to me, has downside. And I would just counter that with, just for people out there thinking about it, there's been a lot of people that have said, oh, the lows are in at 17.5. How does that make sense when this is the first bear market for Bitcoin where the Fed isn't printing money, right? So really, if anything, this should be the worst bear market of Bitcoin's history because it's the one where the Fed's not quantitative easing, right?
When looked at various price models, formation of the next possible market bottom could be analyzed. The Delta price model shows a potential bottom around just below $15,000. This could be the most probable or nearest possible to the actual bottom, given the price movement in the recent past. The price projection for the model points to a potential bottom at around $14,478.
Yeah, so that was remarkable how hawkish Jerome Powell was. I mean, his whole speech was 8 minutes and the markets just freaked out, right? I mean, from that point on, we basically saw nonstop downside in the equity markets, the stock market, all the way until this morning's jobs report. And the jobs report was so key because it showed small signs of things weakening just a little bit, but not enough to scare the markets that we're going into a fast recession, right? So it's enough. It was just a little weakening to show that maybe the Fed can start to wind down the hikes, which is what the market wants, but not enough to show a bad recession coming, almost like that Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold numbers this morning.
The share of Bitcoin among crypto assets by percentage of total market capitalization is on a downward curve. Currently, Bitcoin occupies a market share of mere 39.59%, followed by Ethereum at nearly 19%. The current market share of Bitcoin is almost half of that of January 2022, which is just under 72%. The current levels are significantly lower when compared with the share in recent months. In June 2022, Bitcoin maintained a crypto market share of 47.49%.
Yeah, so number one, I don't think we're even close to that at this point, unfortunately, right? So, one of the things you looked for, what we saw Terra Luna collapse in crypto. That was a big event, right? So you saw crypto really seeing some of these, but it didn't go to the extent where people started to totally freak out about their crypto holdings. So that tells me crypto still has more downside to go. I think at minimum 12, 13,000 on Bitcoin. I even have a worst case scenario of 3,500, which would mirror the Amazon collapse in the .com era, right? So Amazon dropped 95% from peak to trough in the .com collapse. if you look at like Amazon, what it is today, and ultimately is Bitcoin that type of big entity, then that may be the foreboding for what we could see there. In the stock market, you still have people that are buying the dip. One of the key notes about when a market finally bottoms, it's when everyone's way too scared to buy the dip, right? So we're definitely not close yet. I think just at bare minimum, we have to revisit the pre-COVID highs. So if you go back to February of 2020 in the stock market, that's probably at bare minimum where we have to go. And I think that's just if we don't go into a recession. So just the tightening that's going on, the Fed tightening monetary policy, stopping stimulus, the government obviously not able to print quite as much as they were during COVID. I think that's where you're going. If we enter a recession, that's where you could start to see us go even lower than those levels. So one of the biggest concerns I have is that we're entering this new phase of the market where long-term investors are really going to struggle. If you look at the long-term investor, they've really been in control since really 2009. I mean, every dip's been bought. We've made new all-time high after new all-time high. And there really hasn't been a scenario where we've had a long bear market. However, I think now you're starting to get into that situation because the Fed is going to be handcuffed from printing us out of the next recession in a meaningful way because the inflation is going to stay too high.
A new survey is suggesting that investors worldwide are hanging on to their belief in crypto assets despite this year's sharp market downturn. According to Bitstamp's most recent Crypto Pulse survey, which queried over 28,000 retail and institutional investors from 23 countries, the overwhelming majority of nations in the Americas retained their strong outlook toward crypto assets.
So yeah, and then you had QE1, QE2, 2.5, then COVID, and then I mean it's been printing and basically down to zero interest rates since that point. This is the first period where really we're seeing that pulling back on monetary policy and tightening. So to me, that tells me that it could be unfortunately worse than past ones. But I do think for Bitcoin's case that wherever it bottoms out, that's going to be an amazing buying opportunity. I don't think Bitcoin's ever going away at this point. I think it's going to be something that we're with us for the long term as the digital gold. And so I'm eagerly awaiting moves down so I can actually accumulate some more Bitcoin.
Investors in Europe and Asia Pacific also showed confidence in the nascent asset class. According to the survey, European retail investors that rate crypto as trustworthy fell slightly from 54% to 52%, while 66% of institutional investors in Asia Pacific said they would recommend digital assets to their clients.
So right now, I have different accounts set up. I have an account just for crypto, account just for stocks. Stocks, I'm in and out since I go long and short quite a bit. You know, I'm sometimes full in, then sometimes I'm only 25% in. Right now, crypto-wise, about 33% invested in various cryptos. You know, basically, I was looking for the bounce off that level we talked about, which was the 2017 high. So I picked up a little bit of Chainlink, a little Solana, a little Avalanche, just for a quick bounce here, as I do think they'll bounce up. And I think, I mean, we could just take a look at like Solana here, but I think it's bouncing up just a little bit here. Yep, just getting a little bit of an uptick here, maybe a small micro bull flag here. So I think, you know, resistance around 35 is probably the extent of what I'm expecting. But I think for the most part, yeah, I mean, I have definitely in my mind the idea that once we get into the mid to low teens, that's where I really start to buy up more and more Bitcoin. And then I'll leave myself room in case it gets into like below 10,000. But yeah, I mean, definitely proper allocation is important here. When I say load up, I'm not talking about investing all my money, right? It's strictly a percentage of my net worth is allocated towards crypto. And at most, I would have that amount in crypto at one time.
So what do you think about Gareth Soloway's crypto allocation? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.